back in the basement. SETI is looking for ET out there. But are aliens looking for us here on Earth? In a recent film, I was told that SETI had found 18 signatures of an alien technology in our galaxy, possibly detecting the noise of an alien planet buzzing with a technological signature. But what if they are watching us, hiding on our planet? Or what I think is more likely, secretly monitoring us from our near neighborhood. Our planet is noisy, not only with radio and television and phone and data networks, but interestingly, also with nuclear power. It seems likely that others might know a lot about us. They've probably been studying us for millennia, sending home reports on us, our successes, our failures, our technology, and our wars. But a fascinating question that I've often asked, and I'm sure you have, how are they watching us? One scenario, on the surface, might seem obvious. They approach from afar, get captured by our solar system, enter Earth's gravity, orbit Earth, and then descend through our corrosive atmosphere and hover over a farmer's field in Wisconsin. But hang on, that's all without our incredibly sophisticated detection systems, looking for ICBMs, looking at near-Earth orbit, looking for stuff that moves in space. The military, your government, defense contractors, funded science groups can now all see incredible detail in Earth orbit. I mean, down to a piece of floating junk, which they need to track. So you get my drift. Is it likely that an approaching UFO would orbit Earth and not be seen? And let's put ourselves in their shoes, possibly. It's really risky for an ET to actually descend through our atmosphere and appear in plain sight. So like you, I like to think of other possibilities. Is there a better way? Well, possibly. It seems to be much better if they just stayed out in our solar system and monitored us from there. So today, viewers, let you and I ask a question. If they are just a bit out there, where exactly would they be? I think there's a big thing in the sky that points towards Earth all the time, our moon. The moon has permanently shadowy craters and also moon dust you could bury down into. Everything would be visible to them, sending back data as we stumble from one crisis to another. Plus our human successes, our quantum leaps into advanced physics, for example. Of course, all of that would be really understood by our observant neighbors. So I think SETI shouldn't just search into deep space, but actually look in our own backyard. And if we're really lucky, we might catch ET phoning home, sending our report card to our alien brothers. But assuming physics is roughly the same all over the universe, they would need batteries, a power supply. Earth orbits in a Goldilocks zone. We have energy from the sun. But once you go beyond Jupiter, your solar panels just wouldn't work. So I'm guessing, and I'm actually leading you down a path, I'm sure you're getting this, that the alien technology probably needs a fusion or fission reactor, something for a permanent power supply, even in the deepest, darkest crater on the moon, or buried underneath some rubble, or hiding in our asteroid zone, or way out beyond Jupiter, and of course on the way home, if they ever go back. And the next thing I'm going to discuss with you is why I'm actually making this film. Sorry, it's a bit of a long preamble. But I've been researching nuclear signatures, as you do. Everything fissionable, fusion less so, produces a strange byproduct, which you can detect. And that's an isotope of hydrogen called tritium. Where did I learn that? That tritium is a marker for nuclear power. From the military, who use tritium detectors to find secret nuclear reactors or even nuclear weapons. If I had a tritium detector, if you've got one, can I borrow it? I'd point it to the moon to look for an unrecorded, we didn't place it there, signature of a fission reaction on the moon. Unless ET captured their gas, it would be a real telltale sign of somebody producing power on the moon or in orbit or hiding in our asteroid belt. And of course, a lot of people say they're here already and they've been here for millennia, probably using the best place to hide on planet Earth, under our oceans. Maybe aliens are looking for our tritium. Maybe that's why there are clusters of UAP over nuclear sites on Earth. They, I like that term, know that we are producing tritium from our dabbling in nuclear power. So as a humble science filmmaker, I'm sure I'm not the first person to think of this. Can we detect ET in our backyard? Well, there's a project trying to answer that in a very clever way. Assuming ET have been here for a while, was there anything orbiting planet Earth before October 1957? The launch of Sputnik 1, of course, that would make anything up there non-human. Beatriz Villarroel runs the Vasco project and has access to a wide-field star survey before Sputnik. High-resolution pictures were taken by the US Navy just to build navigation charts back in the early 50s of the whole visible night sky. Let Beatriz explain how the Vasco project works.
I'm particularly fond of surveys from the 1950s. Why is it so? Well, because in the 1950s our sky was clean from any human contamination. There were no satellites and not millions of pieces of space debris as it is today. That means that the catalogs from the 1950s, the images from the 1950s, are a gold mine in order to search for alien space probes.
Imagine if, instead of searching or instead of waiting for a UFO to hover over your head, you could actually use some kind of technique to search for unidentified objects that are non-human. And not only to do these searches, but also, in case you detect it, directly get a spectrum in real time that would characterize it. Directly localize it in 3D so that you know where it is. And directly validate it with multiple instruments so that you know that nothing here is wrong. And imagine now that you could also do that and get rid of all human objects, let's say satellites, space debris, and you know that that's not human. So did we find something? Well, we actually did find some examples of these things. And I'm going to show you the top 2 candidates. We put them on archive last year. One is from the 6th of August 1954. I list the probability. Also, and another, the best example is from the 28th of July 1952. We will come back to this. And you see here also these 5 things that are there and they just suddenly vanish. So it's kind of becomes very fun. So what are the implications? Well, what I try to convey is that there is some very unexplainable flashes that come in multiples in the old photographic plates that shouldn't be there. Now there's something more fun. We have a new paper out. And this makes it even harder for the so-called plate defect hypothesis, because suddenly we have 3 very, very bright stars that you can see there that are beautiful, 2 overlaying and 1 here, that are seen there on the 19th of July 1952. And you look later, and we actually looked both half an hour earlier and 1 month later, and all this image we had, and they weren't there. You can see here, is there in July 1952, it's not there in October 91. You can see it in Pan-STAR, you can't see it in Pan-STAR sighting, not in ZTF. And then we used the world's largest optical telescope, a 10.4 meter on La Palma. Our colleague did beautiful images in the red, in the blue, and we saw nothing there. Now there's just something I want to share a coincidence with you. There's something very funny about the date that I didn't know about when we found the triple transient. Another of my friends, actually, my media agent, pointed out, that date rings a bell. So then I went back and I decided to take a look at the other candidate, these aligned ones, at the top candidates that we had, because we had 5 candidates listed. And we have still a problem. That again, it coincides very close to these Washington events. I believe in that extraterrestrial probes are highly likely. I think Avi has been giving many arguments for why this is such a realistic idea, because we humans can send something to another star. Why shouldn't they be able to send something to us? It's just natural. Think of Voyager, think of Pioneer. And you have 40 billion Earth-sized planets just in the Milky Way. And also, nobody said that they have to be biological in origin. You could even have some kind of AI and robotic little probes that are spread throughout the galaxy, and you can search for them. We couldn't do these searches in the 60s, because in the 60s they were talking about already radio SETI versus searching for probes, but the technology wasn't there. The technology to do these searches came with the development of the CMOS sensors as you use in your mobile phone, when one digitized the old plate surveys or created new sky surveys like in the last 10 or 15 years. And that is when we developed the technology to actually search for ET probes. So now when we have it, why not do it?
By doing all this data mining, I hope that Vasco will succeed in finding a vanishing object, or maybe an object that has appeared that wasn't there 70 years ago. I think this will be extremely exciting, because then we can really maybe find something that is indicative of extraterrestrials and their technology. At least I'm hoping for that.
So she's really found stuff fascinating before we went to space. So let's keep looking, searching for a probe looking at us. A monolith on the moon, or Oumuamua sailing past from interstellar space. But are we really of interest to an alien civilization? I don't know. Or are they worried by us, monitoring us for warning signs? Signs that we are about to make some giant leap in the evolution of mankind. A leap into the stars, but a leap into their backyard. Keep asking questions and keep searching in the quiet, dark places, because one day you might see somebody watching you. Leave a comment, ask a question, press like, and subscribe for more, because the truth is out there.